Good afternoon. Happy Thursday. I hope you are having a fantastic day today. For those of you who are new to me, my name is Trasetta Washington. I am a life balance coach and productivity consultant. I partner with entrepreneurs, executives, as well as managers to help them create a life of balance between work and their personal lives, what I like to call balanced ambition. And today I am going to be sharing with you on the productivity pyramid. So a couple weeks ago, I introduced this concept that I like to call the productivity pyramid, which is made up of three separate elements that actually enable you to be at your peak productivity when you are working on whatever it is that you need to do, whether it's in your business, whether it's in your career, whether it's in your personal life. You need all three of these elements in order for you to be your most productive self. And today I want to talk about the foundational element, which is time management. So the three elements are time, energy, and focus. But again, today I'm going to be focusing in on time management, which is the foundational piece to the productivity pyramid. If you don't have time to get the things done that you want to get done or need to get done, then it's going to be very difficult for you to actually get stuff done. So, time management is going to be key. And today what I want to share with you are um three keys to managing your time effectively, and then we'll dig into kind of strategies or ways that you can actually implement these things, like why it's important and how you can implement them into your regular day. Now, if you are tuning in live, please let me know that you are here. Say hello. If you are watching the replay, as always, go back, put in the comments hashtag replay. Let me know that you are here. If you have any questions along the way, whether you're live or watching the replay, feel free to drop those. I do come back and answer any questions that you may have. All right, so let's go ahead and dig in. The first key, and I'm going to put my notes off here to the side because I don't want to forget anything that I wanted to talk about today. The very first element to managing your time effectively is to first establish some priorities. Now, I talk about priorities a ton because they're so important. If you don't know what is most important to you in your life, and I say life because it translates into career and business as well. But if you don't know what's most important in your life, and then subsequently what's most important in your business or your career, depending upon what pathway you have chosen, then it's going to be difficult for you to really and truly manage your time effectively. A lot of people think because they've got a bunch of things on their schedule and they're getting those things done, or maybe they have a long to do list and they're crossing things off, they think that they are being productive. And while that sometimes is actually true, the majority of the time you're actually just busy. There is a difference between being busy or using your time versus using your time effectively in order for you to be productive. And so, when it comes to establishing priorities, you've got to identify what are the things that are most important, what are the things that are going to have the greatest impact in your life or in your business so that you can prioritize those things first. All that means priority, all that means is what is most important. And if you can identify what your priorities are and make sure that you build those things into your schedule first, then you know you're going to have time for the things that are most important, right? I like to call them your big rocks. There is this, and I'll tell this little story, this little antidote. I don't remember where I first heard it, but there's a YouTube video out there if you want to go search for it. But this professor walks into his classroom and he's got this jar full of um, golf balls, I believe. golf balls are large rocks. And he walks in and he puts it up on the table and he asks his class, is the jar full? The the people in the class, they say, yes, the jar is full. Then he takes out a little bag with some pebbles and pours the pebbles into the jar. And the pebbles go in and fill in all the little empty spaces between the golf balls. Again, he asks the class, is this jar full? The class says yes. He then proceeds to take out a bag or a cup of dirt and dumps the dirt down into the jar. And of course, the sand much smaller than the pebbles and much more smaller than the much smaller than the golf balls begins to infiltrate down and fill in even the additional empty spaces left between the golf balls and the pebbles. Right? And then he goes on to say to the class, "Okay, is the jar full?" Again, they come back and say yes. And what he says to them is that the golf balls, those represent the big things in our life, the things that are most important to you, like family and your career, your community, faith, whatever's most important to you. Everyone has their own idea or concept of what is most important in life. So that's what those golf balls represent. The pebbles then represent the things that maybe where you live, the type of car you drive, the type of career you have, or whatever other extraneous elements in your life. And then the sand is just everything else, right? It represents everything else. And the thing is, when you begin by building your schedule with the rocks, the big rocks, the things that are most important, then there's always room for everything else. But what most of us do is we begin with all of the smaller things and then try to fit in what's most important around all of the smaller things, right? So when you establish priorities, you are essentially determining what those big rocks are that need to go on your schedule first. And then you can build everything else around it. And I kind of got ahead of myself, or these two kind of go hand in hand. I talked about establishing the priorities, but then the second element or second key to managing your time effectively is to have a plan. And the reason why I like to say establish your priorities first is because if you don't do that, when you go to create your plan, you're not going to know what to actually put on your schedule. It's important for you to know what needs to go on your schedule and what doesn't need to go on your schedule. So, taking this concept of the glass jar with the golf balls and pebbles and sand, you begin with the things that are most important and build out your schedule that way. I recommend that you have both a weekly and daily planning process. Here's why. When you go through the process of planning your week, what you're doing is first figuring out what are your big rocks for the week. So we have our priorities, right? We have the things that are most important, but then you need to go through the process of identifying what elements of those priorities need to get done this week. Right? What are your big rocks for the week? Those are your priority projects or tasks that need to get done. Once you've identified that, then you can take a look and see, all right, well, what time do I have available? Do I have any obligations that just that can't be moved? Maybe you have meetings, or maybe you have doctor's appointments, or you have client appointments that can't be moved, or that should not be moved, right? So you want to look and see what your priority obligations are. And now you can then look and see what time do I have available and start to schedule in blocks of time to work on those priority projects. And then everything else can kind of get filtered in between the priority projects. Now, when it comes to planning, that's on a weekly basis. When it comes to planning on a daily basis, it's important to recognize that life rarely goes the way we plan it. Yes, it's great to have our plan. I sit down on Sunday night, sometimes Monday morning, and plan my week out in advance. And very rarely does my week go the way that I actually planned it. Something inevitably comes up. I am in living in Tallahassee. I'm living with my father who has dementia. And so sometimes things come up with him that cause me to kind of get off schedule so that I can make sure that he's cared for, he's taking care of things that he needs to have done that I just really didn't plan for. They just kind of pop up, right? So, by taking time on a daily basis to review your schedule and see, okay, well, I had this plan for yesterday, but this particular task I didn't get to because something else came up, right? So then you can move that and make some adjustments to your day, or maybe an opportunity came up that you didn't expect, right? So by looking at your schedule on a daily basis and planning on a daily basis, as in addition to the weekly basis, that helps you to stay limber and make sure that you still stay on course and you make the adjustments necessary in order for you to um, get the things done that you need to get done, as well as be open for opportunities that may present themselves throughout the week. Now, if you are new to this concept of planning your week in advance or would like a resource for planning your week in advance, I do have a workbook and companion training that's totally free. You go to weeklyplanningroutine.com and you can sign up and get access to that training and download the workbook and walk through that process of really establishing a weekly plan so that you can be your most productive self, right? So, key number one was to establish your priorities. Key number two is to have a plan. And key number three is to use some time saving hacks to get the things done that you want to get done. Now, I'm by no means am I going to go through an exhaustive list of the various hacks that are out there. What I'm going to do is kind of share with you a few of my favorite or the ones that I use the most in order for me to make the most of the time that I have available. The very first thing I could say is to don't multitask. Now, that's not necessarily a hack, as it is just kind of a mindset. A lot of people, we've gotten into this frame of mind where, oh, we need to be able to multitask, right? And we will tout that, oh, I'm a good multitasker, I'm a great multitasker. When the truth of the matter is, research has shown that multitasking actually ends up taking you longer to get things done. And you're more likely to make mistakes when you are going back and forth between two or more tasks. So it's better for you to actually focus on a single task at a time rather than multitasking. If you're focused on a single task, you can get it done more quickly and effectively, right? So less errors, less mistakes, and you're saving time. So, very first hack is to ditch that multitasking. The second thing that I would encourage you to use is the 2-minute rule. Now, the 2-minute rule is when you are going through the process of planning out your day, right? When you're going through the process of planning out your day, if there's something that comes up on your to do list and it's going to take you 2 minutes or less to get it done, go ahead and do it right away. Don't even bother putting it on your list. Just do it, get it out the way. Then you can wipe your hands of it and you're done. You don't have to worry about it anymore. It's taken care of. I also encourage you to use this throughout your day. If you think of something that you need to get done, then and it's going to take you 2 minutes or less, just go ahead and do it. Right? Throughout the day, go ahead and do it. Now, if it's going to take you more than 2 minutes to get it done, then I like to keep a notepad next to me when I'm working, especially when I'm doing focus work or I'm working on through a time block. Keep a notepad and pen next to you so that when you think of things that need to get done that's going to take you longer than those 2 minutes, then you can go ahead and jot it down on that piece of paper and come back to it when you're ready so that you are not drifting into that multitasking mode, right? Okay, so use the 2-minute rule. Another time saving hack is to use the one touch email workflow. Now, I have a whole class devoted to this, a whole master class that's called Inbox Zero. If you're interested in learning more about that, just shoot me a direct message and I'd be happy to let you know how you can get access to sign up for that course. But really briefly, it's basically you set up your inbox to where you have specific folders for um, things that you need to do, things you need to read. Um, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head because it's been a while since I taught the course. But anyway, but you have these specific folders set up for that categorize the emails that you receive. And when an email comes into your inbox, you review it and really quickly make a decision. Number one, is this something that do I need to do anything with this email? Do I need to respond? Right? If not, and it's just for your, information, you can delete it, keep it moving. If it's something that you need to reference later, then you can move it into either an archive folder or into a folder that you need to for that reading. Right? Remember, I mentioned that reading folder. So you can slide it into that reading folder so that you can have that as a reference to be able to go back and read later if you need to, or to reference it later if you need to. Um, if it's something that you actually need to take action on, then you're asking yourself, 2-minute rule. Will it take me 2 minutes or less to respond to this email? If so, go ahead, respond, send the email off, delete the email out of your inbox. Or if it's something that you need to keep, go ahead and archive it. Now, this is probably a little bit controversial. Some people like to have folders for all the different projects that they're on and whatnot. I say just go ahead, just have one archive folder where everything goes, and you can use the search features to really be able to find emails later, right? So, like I said, I go really deep into this whole concept, this whole process inside of my Inbox Zero masterclass. And just drop a comment or DM me if you want to find out how you can get access to that. Anyway, the whole concept here is for you to touch that email one time, unless it's something that you need to take action on and you have to schedule it, then that will go into a special folder and you'll touch it again later when you're ready to work on it, as opposed to just keeping things in your inbox, cluttering up where it just kind of keeps getting shoved down and you could possibly forget about it and miss a deadline, or you just lose track of it altogether. Right. So using the one touch email workflow will keep your inbox empty, right? Or at least manageable, under control. And it'll keep you from having to keep touching the same email over and over and over again. All right. The next time saving hack that I want to share with you is using templates. If there are things that you do consistently within your work or even in your home life that you do the same thing over and over again. One of the easiest examples I can use of this is emails. A lot of times we get similar types of emails on a daily basis, depending upon the type of work that we do. Now, one of the things that I did when I was assistant director of outreach at Florida State University College of Medicine, I was our primary hiring facilitator. I was our kind of facilitated our onboarding process within our department. And whenever we would prepare to hire a candidate, I had to send out very specific instructions for them for the process, because working for a state university, we had a very specific process that we had to go through in order to onboard someone. So rather than me type that information over and over again and worry about missing something, forgetting to send a particular link or particular information, leaving things out, I typed it all up in an email and created an email signature. Right? I created this email signature right inside of Outlook that had all that information. And all I had to do was just change when I needed to send that information out, change my signature, and all of that information would pop up. And then I just needed to make a few tweaks to make sure that the information was pertinent to the specific candidate that I was emailing. Right? So use your email signatures as templates for emails that you send on a regular basis. Or maybe you have one of the other things that I had to do was write letters of recommendation. I had a template for the letters of recommendation as a Word doc. And I would just pull that up and then make whatever necessary changes to fit the specific student that I was writing the letter of recommendation for. Maybe if you do any type of graphics. So now, being a full-time entrepreneur, instead of creating my social media graphics from scratch, I have specific templates that I use for the various types of posts that I share on social media. So all I do is change the content. I'm not having to create from scratch brand new graphics every single time. Right. So these are things that can really save you time. Think about the things that you create on a consistent basis inside of your work that you can then create a template to save you time the next time you go to do that particular task. Now, the last time saving hack or hacks that I want to share with you, these two go hand in hand, is to use task chunking and task blocking, or excuse me, time blocking and task chunking. So time blocking is really identifying blocks of time on your schedule. So I like to consider a block of time as 30 minutes or more. Some people go down to 15 minutes. I do blocks of 30 minutes or more. Typically, if I'm doing a time block, it's really an hour. But that it's really a personal thing. And that's one thing that you really should really remember when you're looking for ways to be more productive or manage your time well is productivity. Time management is very personal. What works for one person may not necessarily work for you. So find the things that work best for you and use those. Put everything else up on the shelf. So at any rate, so time blocking again is where you identify blocks of time on your schedule where you schedule particular tasks during those time blocks. And the reason why I like to group time blocking and task chunking together is because with task chunking, what you do is schedule tasks that are similar in nature during a single time block. So let's go back to my social media graphics example that I used. So rather than come up with the content for my graphics and then going in and creating the graphics, putting the content in, and then going and scheduling the posts to go out to social media all in one time block, what I would do is really focus, let's say, on the content creation part. And so that requires me to be creative, that requires me to write. So I will use a time block to write um, captions for social media posts. I'll use that time to write articles. I'll use that time to outline scripts or outline content for workshops and trainings. Anything that requires me to use that creative mind or that writing, right? That uses writing, creative writing. That is what I would schedule during that time block because I'm staying in the same frame of mind as opposed to, while it's not necessarily multitasking, switching between um, tasks that are not similar in nature, there is what is called a task residue. And so it takes a little while for your brain to transition from the one thing you were working on to this new thing. So by scheduling tasks that are similar in nature, you get to blow through several different tasks in one setting because they're similar in nature and you don't have to worry about that task residue until you shift into your next time block. And then you're only doing it once instead of doing it multiple times. So you save time by not having that task residue to slow you down. And all I mean by that task residue, all that simply means is it's that time that it takes for your brain to transition from one focal point to another focal point because you may be using different areas of the brain for the task, and you have to try and figure out where you are with the task, how to proceed, what you need to get done. So you have to process. And that's what that task residue is. It's that time that it takes you to process the shift or transition to a new task. So those are just a few of my favorite time saving hacks that I use to manage my time most effectively or efficiently. I hope that these have been very helpful for you. Let me know in the comments if which of these strategies resonated with you most, or which one you want to try. I'd love to hear from you. And again, if you want to get access to that free resource that I shared with you earlier, the weekly planning routine training and workbook, just head on over to weeklyplanningroutine.com and you can download that. Let me see if I actually have a banner. I don't know if I do. I don't. So yeah, just head over to weeklyplanningroutine.com and you can sign up and get access. It's totally free. You can sign up and get access to that. So that's all I've got for you today. Um, I'm not sure if I'm going to broadcast live next Thursday or not. I am leaving on Tuesday to head to beautiful Cape Cocker, Belize for a week of vacation. So I'm trying to decide if I'm going to pre-record something, pre-record the next element of the productivity pyramid for next week, or if I'm going to do it live or not. But either way, something will be up next week for our regular scheduled live stream. Bye for now, and I'll see you next time.